Hello and welcome. Thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us today. This is our last workshop as FEN in 2023. Where did the year go? Oh my goodness gracious. I appreciate everyone spending a little bit of time with us today as we learn about how to support our clients, support participants in the finances of higher education. We have some great speakers today to touch on the life cycle of being a student on the on-ramp as we save for college, as we find scholarships to pay for our education, and navigating student loans to make sure that we are maintaining our financial health while increasing our educational educational capacity. Before we dive into that, though, who are we? Hi, I'm Ryan Davis. I'm the Director of Training with the Financial Empowerment Network. I'd like to spend a little bit of time at the beginning of our workshop to introduce you to who we are. Can I get a thumbs up from the room that you see a big screen with Financial Empowerment Network on there? Wonderful. If you haven't visited our websites yet, please visit fenwa.org, and you can learn more about our Bank on Washington initiative at bankonwashington.org. We, as the Financial Empowerment Network, envision communities where low and moderate income individuals and families are able to achieve financial well-being. We are connectors. We ensure that financial empowerment is accessible, affordable, and effective in our partners by serving as a little bit of behind the scenes, building capacity and providing resources. Like I said, we're connections. We are not. Our clients are y'all. We are. Like I said, behind the scenes, we're a network of providers aiming to make it easier for people who talk about money with their clients to be well-informed, well-resourced, and supported. We have three big initiatives as the Financial Empowerment Network. The first is financial empowerment integration. That's what I was talking about earlier. That's what we're all working on here today. We know that money intersects with a number of different avenues, a number of different parts of people's lives, and we want programs and services that intersect with money to have the confidence and capacity to do so in a well-informed and coaching, emotionally intelligent way. Our second initiative is Bank on Washington. We are the lead organization in Bank on Washington, which is an initiative that encourages financial institutions to create safe, affordable, and accessible products and services. If you are able to attend, we appreciate everyone who joined us in October in Everett for our annual forum. Keep an eye out for the recordings if you weren't able to make it. And we appreciate everyone who spent a little bit of time with us in Everett this year. Our last initiative is the most recent. In July, we merged with the Washington Asset Building Coalition, which is where I come from. And our goal is to build coalitions around the state so that our friends and neighbors in local communities can build collaborative relationships between community-based organizations, financial institutions, and local government agencies so that we can all work together on the ground in the last mile of service delivery in making sure that we're all working in the same direction and rowing in the same direction and working on the same team. While we have you here, I want to put a plug in for our next workshop, which will be January 10th. We are discussing taxes. Tax season is right around the corner, so we're very excited to bring in Cindy Gossett with the AARP Foundation Tax Aid, who's the statewide coordinator, and Katie Kuntz, who is on the Working Families Tax Credit team at the Department of Revenue, to talk about updates to the Working Families Tax Credit, as well as resources to connect community members with re-tax filings and other ways to take advantage of tax season, because we know that a tax return and tax credits are powerful resources in poverty reduction. If you missed a workshop or are interested in reviewing other things that FEN has done over the past many years, please check out our website, fenwa.org/events, or take a picture of this QR code, which will take you right there. We've been very busy in 2023. We're excited about workshops that are coming in 2024. Keep your eyes peeled and keep fenwa.org/events bookmarked for easy access. The other way that we work on our financial empowerment integration is through the Washington Financial Coaching Network. We are proud conveners of a group of awesome folks. We welcome financial coaches, counselors, educators, anyone who is working on financial wellness with our clients or community members. We meet the fourth Wednesday of every month, except for December, because that is otherwise taken up by people's calendars. We will be back Wednesday, January 24th. Please click this link that I have available on the screen, or I believe it is either in the chat or about to be in the chat, to make sure that you receive updates, reminders, and the calendar invites for 2024. Lastly, in this financial empowerment integration, we host the Foreclosure Prevention and Homeownership Work Group, which meets the third Wednesday of every month, and discusses ways to support housing counselors and folks who are we want to make sure that people stay in their homes, and we want folks who are working in the same area to be, as I said, rowing in the same direction. We have some great resources available on homeowners assistance programs. Please check those out at your leisure. And for more resources, referrals, and awesome things, please check out our statewide resources and statewide provider directory, as well as our self-service job board on fenwa.org. It is very easy to submit resources that you feel like financial coaches should know about, and or jobs to try and get more financial coaches at your organizations. The last piece that I will spend time talking about today is Bank on Washington. As I mentioned earlier, this is an initiative to improve financial access and financial products and services amongst banks and credit unions in Washington. We know that having an access to a financial institution, a checking account, and a savings account is even better, has a strong positive impact on people's financial well-being. So if you are interested in learning more, please reach out to us. We are working hard to make Bank on Washington a year-round event, and maybe put on your calendars that around October we'll be bringing everybody back together for a forum. More information that you probably don't need. I don't know why I meant to skip this, but this is the links that you need. bankonwashington.org/accounts are all of the lists of accounts in Washington that have met a certain standard, a national standard for being safe, affordable, and accessible. If you are talking with a financial institution or represent a financial institution, please visit joinbankon.org, and Bank On accounts that can be open fully online is available at this last link. Oh, there's some contact information for you. Please connect with us. My email is here. I appreciate getting to connect with people. Don't feel shy. Please check us out online or follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we have a whole host of videos on YouTube, including this one, which might be where you're watching it now in the future. Hi. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I appreciate everyone who has engaged with FEN over the last 12 months of 2023. I look forward to connecting with everybody in the future, and I'm very grateful to now hand it over to our friends at the Washington Student Achievement Council. I'm shifting the screens on my back end here, and I need to find Christina Winstead. Oh, thank you for this. One last call. Next week is a great resource for Financial Aid 101 for parents and caregivers. If you fall into either of those categories, please take a minute and register. That is a great resource for people who are on the track paying for college. Just double checking, making sure that all of the links got in. I will do a deeper double check when I'm done talking. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate keeping up on the chat. Oh, it's wonderful to have a coworker. Please, all of the topics, the resources, and the presentations that we go over today will be available online, if not right now, shortly after we're done today. Oh my goodness gracious. So, without further ado, I am going to spotlight, pin Christina Winstead. Christina Winstead is the Associate Director for College Access Initiatives at the Washington Student Achievement Council. She has over 20 years experience in higher education. Christina graduated from the Evergreen State College with her bachelor's and from Seton Hall University with her master's in counseling and her education specialist in professional counseling. She will be giving us a little bit deeper dive into college-bound scholarships and other financial aid, where she is an absolute expert. But we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the timeline of student life and how all of the things that we're going to be talking about today intersect with each other as folks go through the college experience. Christina, tell us more.
Yeah, so welcome. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about financial aid and kind of the cycle of like funding when it comes to paying for your child's education after high school, or just paying for your own education after high school. And so today we have a wonderful team of 3 from WASAC. I think we have the best jobs ever. We get to help you in providing resources, support, so that students and families can make the decisions that are best for them in funding their education after high school. And what I love about this is it starts from birth. Or if you're like me, you're like waiting for a nephew or niece to be born, and then you're like making them a 529 plan, like you're already putting towards it. It really starts from the beginning of life, making these plans, doing things like preparing through a 529 plan. For me, it was really exciting because I knew that my nephews would have lots of toys. And instead of giving them more toys, I would give them a little toy, use something from the dollar store, and then I would put money towards their college savings plan. And so preparing for this pathway really starts with what Jackie's going to talk about, which is our opportunities through 529 plans. Then as students get towards middle school, I feel like that's when 12th year starts kicking in, because the 12th year campaign helps support students as they learn more about what their pathways are after high school and how to fund them. So we support all the way through senior year students in the admissions and financial aid process. So we're there to help really for students to understand what types of aid there are out there, what are loans, things like that. And then you have Epic Jessica, who will roll in and have all the supports for when students are potentially a holder of a loan, making those informed decisions about loan processes and what the best pathway is for them. And so really about informing people about what's out there to best support them so that they can find something they love to do that earns a family wage and find the cheapest way to get there. Because we know that our students are going to be taking over this world shortly, and we just want them to have the best pathways possible. And I apologize, I don't have a camera on. You would see how passionate I am right now about this. But I, somehow, in the last 12 hours, lost a driver on my computer. Didn't know that's a thing, but apparently it's a thing today. So unfortunately, you just get to see my name. But I promise you, I am very excited about this.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the brief overview of sort of the pathway of that paying for college will intersect with people's lives from birth all the way through the tenure of their college experience and possibly beyond. To get us started, I'm going to spotlight and put a pin here And we're going to add just one more thing here. Spotlight for everyone. There we go. Continue. Jackie Ferrado is the Associate Director for Community Engagement with the Washington 529 College and Education Savings Plan, a division of the Washington Student Achievement Council. She has represented the college savings plans and the Washington Student Achievement Council for over 23 years, presenting information, developing partnerships, and fostering community relationships to provide families with valuable resources and information that support students in their pursuit of education. Jackie holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from the Evergreen State College, where she studied communications and management. She's a mother of 2, grandmother of 3, and a dog mom of 1. Jackie, thank you for joining us. Please share your wisdom on the Washington 529 plans.
Thank you so much. I love that part, dog mom of 1. Thanks, everybody. And I'm going to ask Jessica to advance my slides for me as I present information to you today. And I want to be mindful of the time that I spend sharing this with you, and also making sure that there's room for my colleagues, Christina and Jessica, to share the different sections that they're going to be talking about as well. Can you change the slide, Jessica? So let me introduce myself to you first. Again, my name is Jackie Ferrado. I represent the Washington Student Achievement Council, and specifically the college savings plans, which include the GET program and the Dream Ahead College Investment Plan. And it really is a pleasure to be here with you today and share this information. And hopefully you'll find some nuggets of information here that you'd be interested and willing to share with the communities that you are representing as well. Next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry, back up. I didn't actually finish that part of it. I was on the wrong side. So first things first, we're going to talk a little bit of, I want you to kind of know where I'm going to go, what direction I'm going to go with the information that I'm presenting, because truth be known, we could talk about this for a lot longer than 20 minutes, but I want to make sure that I'm sharing with you as service providers the kind of resources and information that's going to resonate with you. I encourage you to also think about this as it relates to maybe your own life as a parent, or even a grandparent, or a family member of somebody who may be interested in learning about this a little bit down the road as well. So as service providers, you can probably appreciate that, and I do as well, that you are in a unique position to guide information and resources to families. This is information that could be useful and helpful to them, even though they may not always know what they're looking for. In the case of college and education savings plans, it may not come to mind right away, but studies are showing that early saving habits are predictors of ongoing saving success, no matter what the person's savings goals might be. So in my section today, in this part of the presentation, I'm going to be talking about 529 college and education savings plans. And I'm going to start with some foundational details that can set the stage to encourage and motivate families to begin saving as early as they can. Next, I'll move into some of the basics of 529 plans, and then specifically the 2 Washington plans. And as I move into closing my section, I'm going to describe some of the additional outreach that we're doing to reach families, as many families as possible, with these resources. And then to close my section, I'll provide you with a few takeaways that I hope that you'll consider. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. A growing body of research is actually showing that students who know that they have a college savings account, such as a 529 plan, in their name, are more likely to pursue additional education, no matter how much money has been saved for them. Saving for college, for education expenses, when it's done early enough, will foster financial empowerment, and it builds a college-going identity at a very young age. According to the Center of Education in the Workforce, nearly 65% of job openings nationwide are requiring some form of education beyond high school. So it doesn't matter at that point where the student is going to plan on pursuing their education, whether they're going to go to a 4-year college or university, or they're interested in the trades. and they're at a community college or a vocational school or even an apprenticeship program, or what level of training or degrees that they're pursuing, that education is going to be invaluable to them to secure a job, to start or advance in a career, and to pursue those dreams that they have. And then lastly here to point out, savings provides an opportunity to reduce the burden of excess debt before it begins. Nationally, the student loan debt is over $1.7 trillion. So whenever it's possible to do this, families are encouraged to save. And for many, many families, the savings component is going to be an essential tool to help cover the gap between what grant-based aid can cover and the cost of attendance. Next slide, please. So we're going to start with what is a 529 plan. And you may know, you may have heard this number, you may have an awareness to this, but this is a great opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for it again. The name 529 plan originated in 1996 when Section 529 of the Internal Revenue Code was established and gave special tax advantages to these programs in order to help families save. So in a nutshell, 529 plans are tax-advantaged college and education savings plans that were specifically designed to help families save for their child's future education expenses. So the earnings in the account, as money goes in and it grows, it's growing tax-free, and then it remains tax-free when the student uses the money in their account for what's called qualified educational expenses, and that they're attending an eligible educational institution. Now, an eligible educational institution can be a public or private college or university, a community or a technical vocational school, nationwide and even abroad, that participates in the U.S. Department of Education student aid programs. Now, a bill passed in 2019 also allows that a student can attend a registered apprenticeship program, and expenses associated with that enrollment may be considered qualified. The qualified expenses are going to be things like tuition and fees, room and board, whether the student is living on or off campus, books, required supplies. That includes purchasing laptops or computers, peripheral equipment, and even paying the internet service that is going to support the student's use of that while they're in a program of study. There might be some special needs expenses that are associated with their enrollment, and even paying down student loan debt that may have accumulated. Next slide, please. Now, Washington has the two types of 529 plans, and we'll talk more specifically about what those are in just a few minutes. But under that umbrella of 529 plans, the two types are called prepaid tuition plans and traditional investment-based savings plans. And within the investment-based plans, there are two categories. They're known as direct sold plans and advisor sold plans. Now, direct sold plans can be opened directly with the plan itself, such as the GET program and the Dream Ahead plan. But advisor sold plans can only be opened through a financial advisor. Now, every state in the country sponsors a 529 plan, having prepaid tuition, savings, or even both, like Washington does. And there's also a private college 529 plan for families specifically planning for their student to attend a private college or university. Now, families can have any variety of 529 plans for the same child, even having plans from other states. So there's no right or wrong way to be saving. In fact, there's a variety of different ways to be saving, but including a 529 plan in that mix is a really great strategy for how families are saving collectively as a whole. Now, the model with prepaid tuition plans is that a participant's contributions will pre-purchase what's called future tuition in the form of units, which is what the GET program calls it. Other states or some other common words might be shares or credits. And the redemption value is going to be based on what actual tuition rates are for a specific state school at the time of that redemption. Now, the model with investment-based 529 plans is that the participants' contributions are invested and the redemption value is based on the performance of the investments chosen by that participant. Next slide, please. The two Washington plans that I mentioned already are the GET program, which opened in 1998. So we're having our 25-year anniversary this year. And Dream Ahead College Investment Plan, which opened in 2018. So we have our 5-year anniversary with the Dream Ahead plan. Both programs are intended to support access and affordability to higher education, to encourage savings, to enhance that financial access, encouraging students to do well in school so that they're prepared for continuous learning, and that all that together collectively promotes a well-educated and financially secure population. Next slide, please. Now we're going to take a deeper look at the GET program and the Dream Ahead plan. And you'll notice here on this slide that I have them lined up next to each other. And what I'll be talking about are the features of the two plans, and not by way of comparing them, because they are individually different types of 529 plans. Now, that doesn't mean one is better than the other. In fact, as people consider opening 529 plans, they usually gravitate towards one or the other, or even having both for the same student, because there are different features, different outcomes, and different things to consider about each of the plans. So let's look at the GET program first. And I mentioned earlier, it's known as a prepaid tuition plan. And typically with prepaid plans, there will be an expectation of residency, meaning the owner or the student, either or, is living in the state of Washington when the account is open. Now, they can certainly move after that. Nobody needs to remain living in Washington state. It's just a point of reference for when they're opening up the account. Now, you'll notice when you look at that feature for the Dream Ahead plan, there is no expectation of residency. So anybody can open a Dream Ahead account no matter where they're living at any time. Now, the other feature with prepaid plans is enrollment periods, which is a window of time every year when new accounts can be open. Once the account is open, people can contribute at any time. You'll see here our enrollment period is November through May. So we're in an open enrollment period right now. That means new accounts can be opened. And Dream Ahead will always have year-round enrollment. Now, these two features are very different from one or the other, but certainly don't signify as one being better than the other. They're just features. Now, the most unique thing about the GET program will continue to be the guarantee. What our state legislature did when they created the GET program is that they wrote into law that the value of a GET account, so what it's worth, is keeping pace with the tuition growth of the highest priced Washington public university. So UW and WSU's tuition growth. Now, your student or the student can attend a college or university, a trade school, anywhere in the United States, even in foreign countries. There are some schools in foreign countries that students go to, but the value of the account is keeping up with UW and WSU's tuition. And we'll talk in a few minutes about how that equates as you're moving along. So the GET program works on what we call a unit system. And units are based on 1 year of time. So 100 units represents 1 year at UW or WSU. Now, as people are contributing money to a GET account, they're accumulating units or portions of units. And people can have any number, even odd numbers. The real goal with GET is saving, and with any kind of savings, is saving what you can, when you can, and allowing the account to grow by the regular contributions is what's building up the account. Now, when we talk about units, that means 100 units equivalent to a year, and tying that back to the guarantee, it means that 100 units will always have a redemption value of what the actual cost of tuition is at UW and WSU when that person is ready to start using that money. So a student may be 10 years, 15 years away, 18 years away from using the money in the account, and the value of those units purchased will keep up every time tuition increases, the value of the account increases. Now, there's no right or wrong way to deposit. We encourage families to do regularly, so they may set their own budgets, they decide how much they want to save, how often they want to save, and in which manner. Write a check, use a bill pay. Payroll direct deposit through their employer is a common option, and setting up an auto withdraw, anything to regulate and have routine contributions going into an account. Now, when we look at the dream ahead side of things, there is not, and tied specifically, speaking specifically about the value of that dream ahead account, different than GET, where it's not guaranteed, is going to be tied to the performance of the investments. So dream ahead resembles your like deferred comp saving, retirement savings accounts, where the participant is making decisions about how much they want to contribute and how they want their money invested. And the value of the Dream Ahead account will depend on the performance of that investment that they chose over time. But just like GET, they make a decision on how much they want to save, how often they want to save, and in any manner that they want to, writing a check, setting up an auto pay, or using bill pay or payroll direct deposit. And those contributions going into the account will be invested into the portfolios that they have chosen. And then the value of it, again, is determined based on how well that investment performed over time. In both instances, we encourage families save what you can as often as you can and allow that savings to be there when the student is ready to start their college-going experience. Next slide, please. Now, thinking of the bigger picture, and I'm specifically prepared this slide kind of thinking about all of you in the roles that you play. And I mentioned earlier that sometimes families may not know what resources or savings tools are available to help them save for education expenses, or even how to navigate the information and select a savings tool that fits their goals and preferences. It could be quite a lot of information, especially if you're just Googling it, right? So this is why our community work and partnerships are an integral piece in helping families not just learn about 529 plans, but how well they can work alongside other ways of saving, but also how it integrates and supports, families as their students are now graduating or getting ready to graduate from high school, applying for financial aid. There may be student loans that they take out, and that's certainly not a bad thing. It is always possible, but that savings, especially done early, can help offset the excess loans that students may take out into the future. So allowing that savings to happen and build up over time. By developing and fostering relationships that help us share our resources and provide some level of education to families on 529 plans is how we participate and contribute into the bigger picture of increasing educational opportunities in Washington. So some examples of our partnerships or relationships that we have, whether they're intra or interagency, such as working with our own or programs with our own divisions, such as what we're doing today with Christina and with Jessica here with me today. And then DFI, which stands for Department of Financial Institutions. Financial Education Public-Private Partnership is another relationship that we have and we foster as a way of not just providing resources, but really helping to support financial literacy and financial wellness for all people in Washington State. And of course, partnering with FEN to provide not just this information and resources, but being available to communicate and to provide our experience and our expertise to families and communities who are looking for this kind of information and clarity on that. So we also have community and regional partnerships. So we've reached out to several chambers and so that we can work with employers, the SHRM, Society for HR Management, and a variety of other community and regional partners. Now, there's another partnership that we have started to work with, and this isn't ones that include opportunities for organizations to actually do the saving for the children. And this happens by way of scholarships or master scholarship accounts and children's savings accounts. And this is where a 501c3 or a government organization can open up a master account and connect their existing scholarship or CSA program to it. And then that allows them to focus on the structure of their CSA or scholarship program. And we work together to implement and process the awarding of that money to a particular student at a future point in time. Children's savings accounts, these are programs that have a policy framework that's aimed at asset building and fostering college-going mindset. There's this proposed natural framework that's universal, meaning it's kind of a model that starts at birth, and it includes this automatic eligibility, a seed deposit, additional automatic progressive deposits that can go in, and it typically involves a state's 529 plan. We are currently working and piloting 2 CSA programs right now, one with Tacoma, through the Tacoma Housing Authority, and in Whatcom County with Mercy Housing Northwest and the Whatcom Community Foundation. Another partnership is what we call WA 529 in the Workplace, which is our employer outreach and partnership initiative. And in this effort, we're connecting employers, we're connecting with them to encourage them to bring the resources and information to employees as part of their benefits offering. And this is a no cost, no contract activity for employers, which again simply begins with sharing resources and then allowing the employees to gauge their interest in that and then continue to provide those resources, educational opportunities, even payroll direct deposit as an option so employees can make regular contributions. Now, next slide, please. I'm going to end here. Some of the takeaways that I hope that you'd consider is to first begin sharing these resources and information in your communities. Some of the resources you'll have, there's a link. It's part of this package for this webinar. I've already preloaded some of these resources. They're the electronic versions of brochures for our Master Scholarship account, our employer work, and just general information. If you want hard copies, we can provide that as well. We're just asking any information that you'd love to share, we'd love to get it to you. So just reach out and let us know. If you have a community meeting or an activity and you'd like us to be there, whether we're just tabling and kind of being available and answering questions, or we're actually facilitating a presentation focused specifically on the 2 savings plans and how families can get involved in that. Let us know. We'd love to come out to your community. We'd love to be a part of that. And then the last thing is asking for content that you may need to put in a newsletter or a communication piece that you have with your families in your communities or even in your workplaces. We've pre-written short articles in various word lengths. So it's really kind of a cut and paste. You can take this information and add it directly into the pieces that you're working with. And we've also got some small, simple advertisements that may be of use to you. We're hoping to, again, through this presentation and this opportunity, to meet with all of you to encourage the resources sharing first. And by way of that, certainly the email address here will go directly to our community relations team. And we'll get all those resources together and be happy to facilitate any of that for you. And my contact information will be part of the slide deck as well. So certainly any questions that you have or things that you would like, please reach out and let us know. So this will end my portion of that, and I am happy to hand this over now to my colleague, Christina Winstead, who's going to be talking about financial aid. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jackie. I'll jump in here to say that we will have a Q&A section at the end. So feel free to throw your questions into the chat or write them down somewhere that you will be able to access later. I feel like I just learned a lot from Jackie, and I'm even more excited to learn even more from Christina, who I've already introduced. So without further ado and without a lengthy introduction, I will hand it over to Christina.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Jackie. Every time I attend one of Jackie's presentations, I learn more about opportunities and ways to save. And it makes me so happy when I know that other families are learning about different ways that they can help their student prepare for education after high school. I'm going to talk about the College Bound program as well as financial aid in general today. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Go ahead and next slide. So financial aid, we have a large definition of what it is. It's basically, though, money to help pay for education after high school. And we're talking about grants, loans, work study, and scholarships. And we'll talk more about these different programs and how they work together to kind of build that puzzle of paying for education. Next slide. So we look at financial aid as an umbrella. And I know in Washington, we don't like umbrellas. We're more of a jacket with a hood kind of style. But for financial aid purposes, I highly encourage you to embrace the umbrella. And the umbrella of financial aid includes grants, and those are income-based. They're federal, state, and institutional grants. We're going to talk more about all of these. Scholarships, one of my favorite types of financial aid. Loans, which are a reality for a lot of our students when they're attending education after high school. We want you to be informed consumers of your loans, and work study, which I know those two words, work, study, but when you put them together, people are like, no, thank you, ma'am. I do not want to work or study, and doing them together, hardest of passes. And I'm here to talk to you about why it's one of the best programs to help you pay for your education and get some work experience at the same time. Next slide, please. So grants are gift aid. Gift aid typically means that you receive those funds and you don't have to pay them back, with the exception, and there's always fine print to programs, and that is that you need to meet what's called satisfactory academic progress. It just means that you have to complete a certain percentage of the classes you attempt and maintain typically around a 2.0 GPA. And so, for example, it doesn't mean that if you fail one class, you owe money back. But for example, I had a student that I was teaching my first quarter. I was very excited. I wanted to do things different, so I made goodie bags. My first quarter very much looked like a kindergartner's birthday party, but I was very excited for my students. I had little name tags, goodie bags. I had a student show up day one. They got their financial aid, and then on the last day of classes, they showed up again for my buffet of snacks that I had for our finals. And they were like, I'm one of your students. And I looked at her and I'm like, are you? And she was like, yeah, I showed up day one. I'm like, that was like 3 months ago. And let's unpack this. Where were you between that? Let's tell me more about the story of what happened in between. And she said, oh my gosh. So I started classes. And did you know the next day when class was happening, y'all sent me a check in the morning? And I was like, for your books and supplies. And she was like, oh, I didn't know that. You sent me a check. And I was like, tell me more about what happened to that check. And she was like, well, did you know Alaska Airlines had sale on tickets to Vegas and they were only like $39.99 each way? So me and my bestie decided, why not Vegas it up? And they went to Vegas and they let it ride and lost all of their money, both of them. And so that student, she came back. We had a conversation about it. She was able to get some assistance from an outside community group to help start paying back what she owed. And because she did not attend any of her classes, she did owe those funds back. So grants are amazing for going to college, but they are the worst for going for Vegas. So you want to use these funds to help you be successful in school. There are two awesome grants out there that you're going to hear about: the Washington College Grant and then the federal Pell Grant. Next slide. So the Washington College Grant, I love the Washington College Grant so much because it is a more improved version of the funding I received that allows me to do something I love every single day and get paid a family wage. And so the WA grant is an improved version of what we used to call the state need grant, just in case you remember it as that name. The Washington College Grant, it's a groundbreaking commitment to our middle and low income families in Washington state. It gives families more money and more income ranges, funding for different types of programs. So you don't have to be just going for an associate or for a bachelor's. You can do an associate's, you can do a certificate, you can do a bachelor's degree, and you can even do approved apprenticeships and receive funding. So there's a lot of different ways that the Washington College Grant can fund your pathway, your individualized pathway for education. Next slide. And I have a lot of families that tell me, you know what, we're not going to get any aid. And I know because I was one of those students that I thought we weren't going to get aid. Someone said, hey, your family's not going to get any financial aid, so please don't apply. And I didn't apply. And then I got 3 jobs. And I failed my first quarter. I'm not embarrassed to tell people that because apparently you have to sleep. Even though you're a teenager, they still have to have some amount of sleep. And then there's a thing called homework that really takes over when you have those 3 jobs. And so I went to go drop out of school, and a financial aid officer stopped me and said, let's talk about what your funding is. And I said, I don't know if you know this, but my family is rich, because that's what someone told me at our financial aid night. And then I told her what rich meant. And then she chuckled a little and put me on a computer, and I applied for aid and got a full state need grant. So a lot of people think that they're not eligible, but they are. And so I encourage you, let the application or the calculators tell you if you're eligible or not. Don't let somebody else tell you. So for example, a family of 4 making up to $112,500 a year, they're going to get some sort of sliding scale gift aid from Washington State. And a family of 4 making $73,000 or less a year will get a full tuition award. And so it really depends on the family size when we're looking at how much you're going to be receiving, as well as the cost of your education. Next slide. So scholarships are an amazing way to help pay for your education. You're going to use all of these puzzle pieces to put together. So there's just not one thing typically that pays for it all. It's a lot of putting things together to reduce your cost of education. And so scholarships are amazing. They don't have to be repaid. They can be a one-time scholarship, but there's also renewable scholarships. There's one of the largest opportunities in Washington State is the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship. There's one for community, going to doing an associate's degree, as well as one for bachelor's degree. Let me tell you, as the poster child of a 90s slacker, I received scholarships, and you can too. You just have to apply. I always thought, well, I'm never going to get a scholarship because I am not a 4.0 student, and a sports ball is really awful for me. I'm just really bad at sports. There's no sport that I could compete in where I would get a scholarship. And so I was really concerned about applying. And then I started applying every single weekend for all these random scholarships, and it offset anything that I had that was left over, my scholarships covered. And so I encourage you, apply for scholarships. Scholarships go unawarded every single year, and we just want to make sure you have access to them. Next slide, please. So work study, remember how I said it sounds like it's going to be a bummer? This is where I promise you it's not. Work study is where you can get a job on campus working in, if you're a dork like me, the financial aid office, and then you fall in love with it and you can't leave. But you can work in the library, you can work in student life. I had a student that got a work study job, and they got it through financial aid. They applied for the job, but they got the funding through financial aid, and she wanted to be an event planner. All she wanted to do was make beautiful events in this world. And so she, in addition to her education and learning about it, got a work study position where she learned all about putting on events, large-scale campus-wide events. She learned how to do catering contracts, photo release forms. She had to learn what to do with 500 burritos when it snowed 1.5 inches in Olympia and everything closed down, and all of a sudden we have 500 burritos, and how do we cancel something when we can't, and what do we do with this leftover food? She learned all these different hands-on things that you would learn on a job typically while doing work study, and she got paid to do it. You get paid just like a normal job. It's money that's put aside. You have to opt into it. So when you apply for financial aid, you have to tell your financial aid office, if you're eligible, that you have to tell them you would like to be considered. It is awesome. I loved my work study. Also, it was the first time an employer was like, hey, you know what? How's school going? Do you need to take a little time off for finals? It was the only place that didn't say, hey, so-and-so was sick. You need to show up. I don't care if you have class. It's amazing. Next slide, please. Loans. So loans are the reality for a lot of students when paying for education after high school. And there's 2 main types of loans that you'll be offered by applying for federal aid. So you have to apply for federal aid to receive them. Those are the subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And you'll learn more about loans in a short minute here, but we want to make sure students know that when you are offered loans, you don't have to take the whole amount. So the first time I was offered loans, I swear they put an extra 0 on that award letter. They were like, oh, by the way, here's like $4,000 in loans. And I was like, I just need like $350 for my books. And you know what I did my first quarter? I took out most of my loans and I lived the best life I've ever lived in my life. I got pizza every day and I paid back that pizza over the course of 10 years. I don't want that for students. You want to take what you need, not what you want, because there's a lot of opportunities in school to be able to do a lot of these things and not have to pay for them. So you have your unsubsidized and subsidized loans. The unsubsidized loans means that the interest accrues the minute the loan is dispersed, and subsidized loans, the interest is paid while you're going to school and for a short time after. Next slide. So now that we've talked about the types of money that are out there for students, let's talk about where they come from. Federal funds are offered through the FAFSA, and they can typically be used at colleges all around the United States as long as they're eligible to receive funds. When you apply for federal funds through the FAFSA, you're also asking to be considered for state funds. State funds are for Washingtonians to be able to attend colleges in Washington state. So we want to keep all our beautiful Washingtonians here in Washington, and part of the way we do that is offer them funds to be able to attend one of our institutions, one of our amazing over 65 institutions in Washington state. The colleges themselves may say, hey, we want you as a student. Here's some money to help offset the cost. And then organizations as well can provide funds. These can be business partners. These can be churches, nonprofits, a little bit of everybody. Next slide, please. So federal programs are through the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. That first word in the application is free. Never pay to apply for financial aid. If someone's asking you to pay to apply for aid for the FAFSA, the WAFSA, or even scholarships, it's typically a scam. You want to make sure that you're not paying to apply for financial aid. When you're applying for federal funds, you're going to be considered for the federal Pell Grant, federal work study, those subsidized and unsubsidized loans, and parents can request to take out an extra type of loan called a parent loan if eligible. Next slide, please. Then you have our state aid, and our state aid includes that beautiful Washington College Grant, the College Bound Scholarship that I'm going to talk about more here in a second, state work study, Passport to Careers, which is a program for our youth experiencing foster care and alumni of foster care, and our Opportunity Grant. These are all our Washington Opportunity Pathways. Washington State has the most robust funding, one of the most robust funding packages in the nation. But unfortunately for our high school students, we also have one of the lowest application rates in the nation. And there's a lot of misconceptions on who's eligible for aid. We typically, I think last year we were 46th in the nation for financial aid completion. But we have one of the most rare types of funding, and that means it's entitlement funding, that this is your money, that you just need to apply for it. Next slide. So the College Bound, you may have heard of College Bound before, but the College Bound program is amazing. Eligibility for College Bound is a two-step process. So students are enrolled, if they're automatically enrolled, if they are eligible for free or reduced price lunches in 7th or 8th grade. So we enroll students in middle school, and you might be thinking, oh, middle school, that's really early. But what it allows us to do as a state is to inform students about all of their opportunities so that they can plan ahead and they can really dream big about what they're going to do education-wise, because they know that they have the College Bound Scholarship. If a student is in foster care anytime from 7th grade all the way through high school graduation, that's the group that will actually be automatically enrolled at any age. Step 2, the student's going to fulfill the College Bound Pledge. They're going to do this by meeting income and residency requirements. So they need to be a Washingtonian and meet the income requirements. And they have to be accepted to and attend an eligible institution within 1 year of graduating high school. So they have 4 years of funding and 5 years to use it, which means students can take a gap year and still get college bound. Now, I encourage you, if you're student or students, if you're on here, if you're thinking of taking a gap year, you want to make a gap year plan because gap years turn to gap decades real quick. So you want to apply to college. You want to defer that enrollment to the quarter that you're going to attend. Next slide, please. The College Bound Commitment combines with other state aid to cover the average cost of tuition at the highest public rate. So if you're going to UW or Wazoo, it would cover that rate and then on there and down. If you're going to a private college, some of those private colleges have scholarships that cover the difference. It covers some fee and a small book allowance, and it can be used to over 65 schools in Washington state. Next slide, please. Here's the state calculator. So if you're thinking, we're not going to get any financial aid, I doubt it. This calculator is amazing. It asks you a couple questions and tells you what to expect from Washington state alone, not even your federal funding. Next slide, please. So we have 2 applications in Washington State for financial aid, but don't worry, you're only going to do one. So you're either going to do the FAFSA or the WAFSA. The FAFSA is that free application for federal aid, and that is an application for federal and state aid at the same time. If a student's ineligible for federal aid, no worries. We don't care in Washington. What we do care about is that you're a Washingtonian. So if you're a Washington resident, you can apply for Washington State aid through the WAFSA, and then you don't have to fill out the FAFSA. Next slide, please. So you only do one. On this slide, I see that it cut off. Okay, so the FAFSA and the WAFSA, they're going to be available starting December 31st, not the 3rd, the 31st of this month. So as that New Year ball drops, know that like you will have a little party and know that the financial aid application will be open and ready for you to go. So that's the new timeline this year. You might be thinking it comes out in October though, and it does typically, but this year there's a lot of changes to financial aid, and they have had a delayed release to be able to update the website with the new application for financial aid. So for the class of 2024 and the class of 2024 only, you will start applying December 31st. Every other class, class of 2025 and beyond, you're going to apply starting in October. The easiest way to remember this is to think when it gets pumpkin spice and everything nice out there, it's also time to apply for financial aid. But for this 1 year only, we're in a peppermint mocha / buying fireworks for New Year's situation. But don't worry, we'll be back to that regularly scheduled pumpkin spice situation next year with students. The class of 2024 is going to use the 24-25 FAFSA or WAFSA, and they're going to use it, completing it with 2022 income information. Next slide. This is what the FAFSA looks like. I just wanted you to see what the page looks like. Next slide. There's 2 ways to apply, the paper or the website. I encourage using the website starting December 31st. Next slide. And you can do it in English or in Spanish. And this year, starting this year, there is phone assistance for the top 10 spoken languages in the United States through federal student aid. Next slide. The first step to applying for financial aid is creating your FSA ID. So if you're doing the FAFSA, you're going to create an account by doing your FSA ID. And you can do this now. You don't have to wait till New Year's Eve to do this. You can do this, I wouldn't say like this minute, finish this wonderful webinar, and then maybe do it right afterwards. A student will have to create one as well as a parent. Next slide, please. The WAFSA page looks like this. Again, I just want you to see what the pages look like. Again, both are free. Next slide. And then the first step to the WAFSA is creating a WAFSA account. This is a very simple process. You can do it as soon as you want. And it just really is you creating an account saying, I'm going to be accessing aid next year. Next slide, please. We have worksheets to help you with your FSA ID or WAFSA account. So don't worry if you're like, I don't know how to do this. We got you. We got a worksheet that you can use. And then when you're finished this worksheet, you can put it with your taxes because you'll need that information to apply for aid. Next slide, please. These are the things that people will need to apply for aid. So typically you're going to need, if you have a driver's license or ID, awesome, you can use it. If not, no worries. You'll need some income information. If you're under the age of 24, you're going to need parent information, and you will need access to your Social Security card if applicable. Next slide, please. We have a website. It says it's for juniors and seniors, but it is also for very excited freshmen, sophomores, and below. And this website also has information that you could utilize if you're going to college, even though you've graduated high school. There's career exploration information, as well as information on how to apply for aid. Next slide. So one of the tools that I love using is the Padlet. The Padlet is one of those tools that I've put together that has everything a student needs to know about applying for aid. There's a section for the FAFSA, for the WAFSA, where you can get help, how to navigate your award letters, your offers from colleges. And I see questions coming in. Thank you for putting your questions in the chat. We're excited to answer them at the end. I just want to make sure you don't feel like I'm ignoring you, but this tool will have all of our updated resources. Next slide, please. And next, I want to pass it off to over to Jessica, and that way we can talk about a little bit more about loans, because we want to make sure everyone is an informed consumer of loans. And so I'll pass it off.
Thank you so much, Christina. Oh my goodness. The resources aplenty. some questions in the chat that we will get to at the end of today. And my pleasure to introduce Jessica Manfredi, who has been running the slide deck this entire time and is wonderful for that, is also the student loan advocate with the Washington Student Achievement Council. Working in collaboration with other state agencies, she receives, tracks, and responds to all student loan debt complaints for student and parent borrowers in the state of Washington. Prior to joining the Washington Student Achievement Council, Jessica worked within higher education at both the university and community college level, with a focus on helping students obtain alternative funding options, specifically workforce funding grants. Throughout her career, Jessica has always advocated on behalf of students, whether that be to reduce debt while attending school or helping them achieve student loan forgiveness after graduation. She holds a dual bachelor's degree from the University of Washington, Bothell, and is here to tell us more about student loans and how to navigate them. Jessica, take it away.
Thank you, Ryan. Hello, everyone. So like Ryan said, my name is Jessica Manfredi, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the student loan advocate within the Washington State Office of the Student Loan Advocate, which is always funny to say because it's literally the title of my job, but that's the name of the office. So anyhow, I am very excited to be here today, co-presenting this topic with both Jackie and Christina. So thank you, Jackie and Christina, for all the amazing resources and information that you shared before me. So today I will be giving you a very brief introduction to student loans, because much like Jackie and Christina, this is a very lengthy topic with a focus specifically on how to pay for college. So basically a student loan 101 crash course. So without further ado, let's get started. So even though today's focus is on how to pay for college, I think it's important for us to start by giving you an overview of what is the student loan debt crisis by providing some key data points for Washington State borrowers. Then I am going to cover Washington State response to this crisis. And I'll go over some key terms that you need to understand in order to really understand your student loans, as well as the different types of student loans and repayment options that may be available. And lastly, I will provide additional resources and information on how you can get individual support from our office and where you can ask questions about your student loans. So what is this student debt crisis? So as many of you, I'm sure, are aware, this country faces a student debt crisis. Nationally, Americans owe $1.73 trillion in student loans. Student loan debt is now the second largest household debt after mortgages as of March 31st, 2023. It has surpassed credit cards and auto loans, as well as home equity revolving debt. Student loan debt is a multi-generational issue that affects borrowers of all ages and jeopardizes millions of families' long-term financial security. While student loan balances have risen for all age groups, older borrowers have seen the largest increases. So student loan defaults rise as the borrower's age increases, and parents and grandparents take on debt to help younger generations pay for their education. There has been a 37% increase in senior citizen debt, senior citizens, specifically folks over the age of 62, with federal student loan debt since March of 2017. This is the highest increase in federal student loan debt of any other age group, the second highest being borrowers aged 50 to 61. And to give you all a snapshot of what student loan debt looks like in Washington State, as of June 30th of 2023, we have over 804,400 federal student loan borrowers. Our outstanding federal student debt balance is $29.1 billion, and our average federal student loan debt is $36,176 per borrower. And I put these numbers here not to intimidate anyone, right? Because these seem like big, scary numbers, but really to try to normalize student debt as much as possible. As service providers doing this work, we know that folks can have a lot of shame or negative feelings and emotions when the top of finances and debt is brought up. And I want to really drive the point home that millions of people have student loans. Many of us are all in the same boat here. So there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. And I believe that it should be, in fact, discussed more so that people can get the assistance and resources that they need to manage their student loan debt. But you may be asking yourself, if we're going to be talking for the most part about federal student loan debt, why is a state employee here speaking to you today? Well, I will be the first one to tell you that we are all very fortunate to live in a state that is in many ways leading the charge in state level work to address the student loan debt crisis. We have a law in Washington state called the Student Loan Bill of Rights, which was passed in 2018. This law created the Office of the Student Loan Advocate within the Washington Student Achievement Council, the same agency as the other presenters that are here today. And this Bill of Rights allows our state to enforce state consumer protection laws against student loan servicers. And most importantly, it allows borrowers to submit questions and complaints to the Office of the Student Loan Advocate and get individual assistance and resources with their student loans. So if after today's presentation, you or a client that you serve have questions about, their specific student loan circumstances, you or your client can submit a question or complaint to us at studentcomplaints.wa.gov. And you can ask us questions about things like income-driven repayment plans, income-driven repayment forgiveness, delinquency and default, options for deferment and forbearance, loan forgiveness and discharges options, consolidation, and any other student loan question. Now that you know where to get assistance after today, let's go over some key terms that you and your clients will need to be familiar with to understand student loans. As we service providers know, there is a lot of word salad whenever a financial topic is brought up. So having this glossary of terms handy can really help you speak with your clients about student loans. So I know that Christina touched on this a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit more about subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So subsidized loans is a type of federal student loan in which the interest does not accrue while you're in school, in your grace period, or during your deferment. There is unsubsidized loans, which is a type of federal student loan in which the interest begins accruing at the disbursement and continues until the loan is paid off. There's also a grace period, which is a time after students graduate, leave school, or drop below half-time in enrollment, in which students have a 6-month grace period before they must begin making payments. There's also consolidation, which means combining federal student loans together into a single direct consolidation loan through the government, specifically through federal student aid. Refinancing means combining student loans through a private financial institution like banks, credit unions, etc. There's also student loan servicers, which is a company that manages your federal student loans on behalf of the Department of Education. There are deferments, which is a temporary suspension of payments. Interest on unsubsidized loans does not accrue during a deferment. Interest on unsubsidized loans accrues, and it does not accrue for subsidized loans. Forbearance is a temporary reduction or postponement of payments, but the interest is going to accrue on all loans, regardless if it's subsidized or unsubsidized. There's also a very important document called a promissory note, in which you promise to repay the loans that you've taken out and any accrued interest and fees to the lender. It explains the terms and conditions of the loan. And then there's also capitalization, which is adding unpaid interest that accumulates in your account to the principal of the loan. Now that we went over the student loan word salad, we can now move on to talk about the different types of student loans that are currently available. So there are two main categories of student loans: federal student loans and private student loans. Federal student loans are offered by the U.S. Department of Education, and private student loans are offered by a private financial institution like banks, credit unions, etc. This can include institutions like Discover, PNC, College Ave, Sallie Mae, SoFi, Earnest, etc. There's a lot of different institutions and banks that offer this type of product. There are several important differences between federal and private student loans. To be eligible for federal student loans, you must be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen enrolled in an eligible degree or certification program. Typically, federal student loans don't require a credit check except for PLUS loans. Eligibility for private student loans is set by individual lenders, and it can vary. But it may be based on things like your credit history, your credit score, income, etc. It may also require a co-signer in certain cases, like when the borrower doesn't have a long enough credit history to qualify, which is the case for most students that are younger. The interest in federal student loans is typically lower than private student loans for loans that are being taken out at this time in general. And the only option currently is fixed interest rates for federal student loans. The interest for private student loans tends to be higher, and the interest rates can be either fixed or variable. There are many repayment options for federal student loans, including payments that are based on your income, known as income-driven repayment plans. Private student loans typically don't offer many repayment plans. The repayment options tend to be more rigid and not as flexible. And the repayment options are set by each individual lender, so it really varies widely. Finally, federal student loans provide many forgiveness and discharge options, including discharge upon the death of the borrower or the student. Forgiveness options are usually very limited for private student loans, and once again, are set by each individual lender and can vary widely. Now, within federal student loans, there are three main types of loans available for a student that's attending school. There's direct subsidized loans, the direct unsubsidized loans, and the direct plus loans. So once again, the direct subsidized loans are available for undergraduate students that have a demonstrated financial need. The Department of Education pays the interest on these loans while the student is in school at least half time and during the grace period or during a deferment. A direct and subsidized loan is available for undergrad, graduate, and professional degree students, and it doesn't require a financial need, right? So anybody with any income can qualify for direct and subsidized loans as long as they are a U.S. citizen or a qualifying non-citizen. Interest in unsubsidized loans starts accruing immediately, right? The moment that the loan is disbursed. And if the borrower doesn't pay the interest in school, it used to capitalize. It's actually not going to capitalize anymore. That there's a little bit of a mistake on this on this slide, but it is, capitalizing, meaning that it used to be added to the principal balance. Then there are the direct plus loans, which are considered unsubsidized, meaning the interest on these loans start accruing the moment that the loan is disbursed. Interest rates are higher and there are much higher origination fees for plus loans compared to the other federal student loans mentioned in the previous slides. There are two different types of plus loans available, the graduate plus loans and the parent plus loans. The graduate plus loans are available for graduate and professional degree students, and the maximum amount that it can borrow is up to the cost of attendance of that graduate program. And parent plus loans are available for parents of dependent undergraduate students. Parent plus loans are much more restrictive than other student loans for several reasons. It requires a credit check, it has no grace period, and most importantly, income-driven repayment options, which typically can be the most affordable options for people, are very limited. It is also important to highlight that parents are legally responsible for the repayment of these loans and that they can't transfer the ownership through the federal government of these loans to the student. Finally, there's one additional loan that is offered by the federal government that is typically used once the student graduates, right? It is called the direct consolidation loan. This is a loan that combines the borrower's eligible loans into a single loan through the federal government or federal student aid. The loan consolidation is available for both student and parent borrowers. Some people decide to consolidate to lower their monthly payment by giving the borrower more time to repay the loan, up to 30 years. And consolidating in certain cases can give you access to forgiveness options and more repayment options, like I mentioned earlier. But I would recommend, if you're considering consolidation, that you research your options prior to consolidating. And I want to specifically point you out to a federal student aid article on the 5 things you need to know before consolidating your federal student loans. So now we'll move on to talk about your repayment options for federal student loans. There are 2 main kinds of repayment plans: the standard repayment plans that are not based on your income, and the income-driven repayment plans, which are based on your income. So there are 5 main types of standard repayment options. The standard repayment options have a fixed term, meaning after a certain number of years, which can range anywhere from 5 to 30 years, you will fully pay off these loans, right? If you pick one of these options and you stick with it. The monthly payment for the standard repayment options can either be fixed, meaning that the monthly payment remains the same for the entire life of the loan, or it can be graduated, meaning that it will increase over time. The original standard repayment plan, which is the one that you get placed in once you graduate, if you don't choose any other repayment plan, is called the 10-year standard repayment plan. And the monthly payment remains the same for the life of the loan, which can be anywhere between 5 to 10 years, depending on the balance that you originally took out. Then there are the graduated repayment plans, which start out low and then increase every 2 years, the monthly payment. These plans sometimes can be misleading to borrowers because it will often provide the lowest monthly payment in the very beginning, right? But because the payment increases every 2 years, it can become unaffordable over time. It's typically best for somebody that knows that their income projection is definitely going higher because of their career prospects of some other income that might be coming their way in the coming years. Then there are extended repayment plans, which can be either fixed or graduated payments for up to 25 years. This plan is only for borrowers with debt that totals $30,000 or more. And if someone needs to lower their payments more than the extended repayment options, and maybe they don't qualify for an affordable income-driven repayment plan, they can also consider consolidating to access the 30-year standard repayment plan, which is only available for direct consolidated loans. And this plan has a fixed monthly payment for up to 30 years. And then, all right, I'm going to move on to talk about a little bit about the income-driven repayment plans, which are dependent on your household income. I know that we are a little bit short on time. Is that correct? Ryan, I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay. So I might have to skip over some of the information here. But this is basically repayment plans that are designed to be affordable based on your income and family size. And unlike the standard repayment plans, income-driven repayment plans don't have established term, meaning there's no specific amount of years you'll be in repayment in order to pay off the loan. And this is because sometimes your monthly payment may be too low to make any progress towards repaying the loan, meaning sometimes you have a 0 monthly payment, so you might not actually be making progress towards paying down the debt. However, these plans may lead to forgiveness if you stay in them anywhere from 12 to 25 years, depending on the original total amount borrowed and the repayment plan that you are under. And then I am not going to talk about the specifics of each repayment plan because we really are out of time. But I know that this can be confusing and hard to understand. So the next, why is it not showing my slide? That is really weird. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. So you can actually get help picking a repayment plan, whether it's an income-driven repayment plan or a non-income-driven repayment plan, using this tool called the Loan Simulator. You can use this tool even if you don't have a federal student aid ID, even if you haven't started borrowing yet. There's an I want to simulate more borrowing option that is great for people that want to simulate borrowing and figuring out what their options are. So I would highly recommend, if you're trying to explore what repayment option may be the best for you, that you use this tool. And then what are some things that I should also be aware of when it comes to just taking out student loans, right? So first, make sure that you only borrow what you need. Have conversations with your family members, your financial aid office, and anyone else involved in funding your education to determine if there are other options available other than loans to pay for school. If you do have to take out loans, keep track of what you're borrowing. Start a spreadsheet, a Word document, a manual, pen and paper, in a notebook, right? Whatever your style is, but keep track of the amounts that you're borrowing every time loans are dispersed. If you have to borrow to be able to attend school, make sure that you exhaust all your federal student loan options before taking out private student loans. Federal student loans have several additional protections and benefits and flexibilities that most private student loans are not able to offer. Take the time to read the fine print, especially if you're taking out private student loans. Carefully read all the terms of your promissory note. And along the same lines, make sure that you understand your interest rate as well as your repayment and forgiveness options, ideally before you sign on the dotted line. And finally, carefully consider your options before refinancing your federal student loans with a private institution like a bank, okay? Once again, you can lose some key benefits if you take the ownership of your loans from the government into the hands of a private bank or financial institution. And then finally, I just want to share a few more resources with you. We have a student loan education website that has a course for both parents and students if they want to learn more and do a deep dive into everything that I talk about today. We also offer several different webinars on a bunch of different topics regarding student loans that are available on the Student Loan Advocate webpage. You also have the option to subscribe to receive updates from our office. And we use this as a platform to let people know of any changes that are happening at the federal level. For example, when new forgiveness options may become available. And as a reminder, once again, if you have specific questions, you can make a complaint or submit a question to us at studentcomplaints.wa.gov. Just make sure that when you submit that you select the student loan questions and complaint form. And please note that it is currently taking us, and by us I mean me, because I'm the only person doing this work currently, 4 to 6 weeks to respond to questions because of the demand. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you today, and I'll kick it right back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate all of that information. I know that we just burned through a lot of very big ideas with a lot of very specific knowledge. So I want to remind everyone that all of the information is available online at the link that is in the chat. I see that Christina has been answering some of the questions in the chat, so I encourage people to check out the answers there. One question that is for Jackie that did not get answered for the GET program. Does the 100 units equal 1 year tuition mean tuition for every quarter in that school year? And is that school year or calendar year?
Yeah, so it does reflect an academic year, and it is 100 units is representing 3 quarters or 2 semesters. So now that is really keeping in mind that that's a framework, right? But when the student is actually enrolled in their program of study, they might be taking a summer school class, right? If they have money in their account, they can use the money in their account to pay summer expenses or expenses associated with their summer school. But when we're valuing when the word redeeming or the redemption value, that is always focused on an academic year. And what does it cost for a student to be attending full-time 3 quarters or 2 semesters at UW or WSU? And that value will be associated whichever school has the highest that year. So some years it's UW, some years it's WSU. It just depends on how it all lays out. And then that's what we adopt as that year's payout value or redemption value.
Sure. Thank you for that. Just in the interest of time, I am going to encourage people to check out the chat. There's some great information from Christina answering some of the questions that were put in there. In the follow-up or in the shared folder, there is contact information for each of our presenters. If you have follow-up questions or want to invite them into your organization to learn more specifics about how to integrate college planning into working with your participants, we know that there's a benefit in making a plan, and even bigger benefit in having resources when it comes time to turn that plan into action. I've thrown a link into the chat. Please take some time and complete a survey for your experience here in the workshop. I can't tell you how important it is for us to get feedback. We use the information that you give us in planning our workshops, both in the topics that are of interest and in their structure. And also, we love hearing from you and from your ideas. Yes, absolutely. The Washington Student Achievement Council website is a goldmine of excellent resources. If you want to use the rest of your day wisely, that would be a great place to start. So with that, it is my pleasure to give everybody approximately 90 seconds of your day back. Please join me one more time in a round of appreciation and applause for Christina, Jackie, and Jessica. Thank you so much for your wisdom, for your expertise in joining us for an in-depth conversation about paying for college and making sure that our plans are well resourced. Thank you, everybody. Please join us in January for our Taxes in Washington workshop. Please join us later in January for the Washington Financial Coaches Network. If you've missed anything, please check out our website. Throw some links into the chat. That's a big thing that everybody can read on your own time. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.